Well, good morning, and welcome to Morning Gospel Fuel with Mr. G. It is Tuesday, August 2nd, the 18th week of Ordinary Time, and the feast day of St. Peter Julian Eymard. He was around in the 1800s, a French Catholic priest and founder of two religious institutes. It's pretty impressive whenever he died at like 57 years old. But those two religious institutes were the Congregation of the Blessed Sacrament for men and the Servants of the Blessed Sacrament for women. And his first attempt as a seminarian ended because of a serious illness, but throughout his entire life he suffered from poor health, particularly weakness of the lungs and migraine headaches. So, talk about perseverance and endurance to overcome. But he still accomplished a lot. He's a saint, recognized by the church. He's also known as the Apostle of the Eucharist, which is a pretty sweet title, I would say. And then he is the patron saint of St. John the Baptist Catholic Church in New York City. Today's gospel is from Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 through 36. Let's begin in the name of the Father, Son, and Spirit, amen. Then he made the disciples get into the boat and precede him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowds. After doing so, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When it was evening, he was there alone. Meanwhile, the boat, already a few miles offshore, was being tossed about by the waves, for the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, he came toward them, walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. "It is a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. At once Jesus spoke to them, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." Peter said to him in reply, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." Peter got out of the boat and began to walk on the water toward Jesus. But when he saw how strong the wind was, he became frightened, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" After they got into the boat, the wind died down. Those who were in the boat did him homage, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." After making the crossing, they came to the land at Gennesaret. When the men of that place recognized him, they sent word to all the surrounding country. People brought to him all those who were sick and begged him that they might touch only the tassel on his cloak, and as many as touched it were healed. Okay, I think the main message that I'm gathering today as we have the walking on the water is the combination of fear and comfort. Because I'm sure a lot of us, whether it be internally or externally, can relate to Peter here in this scene of being afraid of something, thinking that it was a ghost at first. So, because Peter is afraid twice in this gospel. He's afraid whenever he sees a ghost, which ends up being Jesus walking on the water towards them. But then Jesus tells them to take courage and not to be afraid. So Peter is afraid. Jesus tells him to be courageous. Then the second time, be courageous and come to him. So the second time, Peter's afraid is as he is actually walking towards Jesus, and then he's distracted by the wind, the weather, the fact that he's walking on water towards Jesus. But he gets distracted, then he starts to sink. So he becomes afraid again of the wind and the storm, but then the fact that he's falling again. Then he cries out to Jesus again. And then Jesus comforts him and asks him why was he afraid? Why did he doubt? And I'm sure that we can relate to that quite heavily many times, maybe throughout our day, but I'm sure throughout our week, month, however time frame it is. But we just got to know and trust that Jesus, like Peter, will not leave our side, even amongst the storms of life, even amongst the uncertainties, even amongst the fears and lack of courage that we might have at that time. But Jesus is constantly inviting us to walk towards him and to be courageous and to be comforted and to trust. So what is it in your life, in my life, is that we need to rely on Jesus a little bit more than what we currently are. Have a great day. God bless. Keep it real. In the Father, Son, and Spirit. Amen.